afternoon and welcome to the Town of Redington Shores Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, August 11th, 2021 at 4 p.m.
Look at everybody. I'm sorry.
This meeting is conducted in person and via Zoom. Please rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Blackburn. Here. Commissioner Kraut.
Here.
Vice Mayor Robinson.
Here.
Mayor Henderson.
Here.
Attorney Rubenstein.
Here. Okay, I'm going to open the regular meeting. Start with the approval of the minutes for the workshop meeting July 8th, 2021, the regular meeting July 14th, 2021, the special meeting July 23rd, 2021, the workshop meeting July 28th, 2021, and a special meeting July 30th, 2021. So if anybody thinks we haven't been doing a whole lot of work, here we have.
And I would make a motion to approve all of the aforementioned minutes. A second the motion.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor Robinson, a second by Commissioner Blackburn. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Blackburn.
Yes.
Commissioner Kraut.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Henderson.
Yes. Okay, moving on to the ratification of the bills for July and August of 2021.
And I would make a motion to ratify the bills for July, August 2021.
I second the motion.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Blackburn.
Yes.
Commissioner Kraut.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Henderson.
Okay, on the commission reports. Well, unfortunately, we have an uptick big time in COVID. So we are taking extra precautions right now. We've locked the door. We're asking, not requiring, but are asking for masks to be worn, keep that social distancing. Up here, I know it's kind of hard for anyone to hear when we're wearing a mask. So we have the glass partition still. People are still in the audience distance. So hopefully doing as much as we can at this point. I'm sure Vice Mayor Robinson can talk about this blog that we're seeing out there in the Gulf. We put something on our desk to look at, so we'll wait for his report for that. I wanted to let everyone know that I was involved in the RFP meetings with North Redington and Redington Beach regarding the undergrounding of the utilities for the west side. And we had hired Carrie Kennedy to facilitate the entire thing. She's from Longboat Key, and it was a lengthy process. Many meetings, many advertised meetings. We had a few companies that came in. And it was advertised. Lots showed up, but then only 2 submitted. So we didn't really have to shortlist it. They shortlisted themselves. So we ended up choosing Utility Consultants of Florida, and the company that was up against them was CPWG, who did the undergrounding for the east side, but they did not end up getting the contract for the west side. So now we're going to be in the negotiation process for Utility Consultants of Florida, but they had quite a reputation, done a lot of local business here, and we just felt that they were far and away our better choice. They have really great relationships with all of the utility companies, which I don't believe CPWG had, and we experienced a lot of setbacks because of that. So that is why we ended up with Utility Consultants of Florida. I also just wanted to welcome Brian Spees. He is in the maintenance department to our Redington Shores family. This is his first week, and so far I've heard good reports of him. And, you know, so that is all I have. Captain Smith, did you have anything for the police report being of any sort?
Other than the tropical storm, sure. Vice Mayor Robinson will go for that.
Absolutely. Okay, Vice Mayor Robinson, you're on.
Thank you. So the National Hurricane Center has issuing advisories on Tropical Storm Fred Fred currently located south of Hispaniola, maximum sustained wind speeds at 45 miles an hour, with that wind being felt 60 miles away from the center. That is expected as it crosses Hispaniola maybe to drop down from a tropical storm to a depression, but is expected to re-intensify after that. We're keeping a very close eye on this because at this point we're not quite sure, depending on how it's going to cross Hispaniola, exactly what's going to happen. But that should just be a reminder to everyone that they need to dust off their personal preparedness plans. Since we had a storm not that long ago, everybody should be in pretty good shape for that. We're still able to issue reentry passes should this storm or future storms require an evacuation and people need to come back on. So I would encourage people to do that. We're going to keep an eye on this storm. We haven't ordered any sand, but we ran through our sandbags, as you know, from the last storm, and we obtained 5,000 more bags. So we're all set if we should need to do that, given, again, the fact that the last storm was so close by to this one. I assume that a lot of people have bags. I talked to Mary about it. We haven't got a lot of calls regarding that. If we do, we'll quickly set up a stand and get some bags in, but we shouldn't do that. We're doing a couple other things to make sure that we are prepared for the storm. We're working on determining just exactly what we need for our lift stations should this or another storm drive those down. We're working on that alert siren system for us and Indian Shores, and also acquiring some satellite phones if we have communication problems. So all of the emergency management preparations are continuing on a day-to-day basis, and again for this storm. So we'll keep our eye on this and hope again that we're safe. What is concerning is that now we've had 2 storms that have come our way this year. I don't want this to become a pattern that they all come to the Gulf. Yeah, that's a concern. Yeah. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Robinson. Commissioner Crowe?
Yes. So the building department has issued 58 permits in the month of July with no new builds and 77 inspections. Our revenues were $11,000 and $11,208.79. The RFP for our building department software was completed and issued on 8/6/21. The submittal deadline is 9/6/21. Due to the timing of the submittal, we may need to have a special meeting prior to 9/17 to gain commission approval of the bid, which is due by 9/17. So, our meeting is going to be like 2 days after the drop dead date for the bids to be received. And I don't think that's enough time there's a team of 3 people that will be working, or 4 people that will be working on, helping to make a decision, a selection committee. So I believe we'll probably have to have a special meeting to meet the deadline for that. I have the shed ordinance ready for review and will present in item 3 of old business. And for distribution, I have our attorney's draft letter to our condo board presidents and management company representatives regarding our request. They provide an electrical and structural engineering review of their buildings to ensure both structural and electrical integrity. Buildings in Miami continue to be evacuated due to electrical and structural concerns. So I have to pass out to you the letter, and then also attach the the glass is very good. I have attached the list of condos.
Thank you.
So attaches a list of condos, and what I would like to do is make a motion that, as previously discussed, the town send this letter to condo board presidents and their management company representative of all condos in the town of Redington Shores that are greater than 30 years of age and are 4 stories or greater.
So you're making that motion?
I am.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Kraft, second by Vice Mayor Robinson. Any discussion? I just wanted to say that I went to the Big C as did you, and I know that it was discussed a little bit there, and I think the county may be looking at something, and then the big C together coming and kind of putting something out, so, I mean, this is in addition to what they would be doing.
And I think it's timely, I think we need to provide information to our condos and support that we want them to review the structural and electrical components of their condos. And we're taking it seriously and expect that they address that as a public safety issue.
I wouldn't mind having the whole entire board of commissioners on that for a letter instead of just.
I'm good with that. I'll amend my, okay. So I would like to amend my motion that as previously discussed, the town send this letter to condo board presidents and their management company representatives of all condos in the town of Redington Shores that are greater than 30 years of age and 4 stories or greater, and that the letter be signed by all commissioners in the town of Redington Shores.
I second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Kraut, a second by Commissioner Blackburn. Any other discussion?
Good job on the letter.
It's not really-
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes,
Commissioner Kraut.
Yes,
Vice Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Henderson.
Is that all you have?
oh, wait a minute. I conclude my report.
Okay. Commissioner Blackburn.
okay. Well, obviously, we've had our red tide challenges recently. That makes raking the beach a challenge. That makes the trash a challenge, dead fish, flies, etc. And I think for Brian, this is like day 3 for Brian, but I know for Mike, he loves the beach so much, even though he works on the beach all the time, he walks the beach every single night and in the morning if he can. So he really loves it, and it's been really hard on him. He's sort of new to Florida. I hate to say that those of us that have been here for a while get kind of jaded to the red tide, but it's been really shocking for him. So, but I think the county's done a really good job of responding. Okay, so Brian is hired and in place. This is day 3. He's sort of learning the town. He knows the town because he's from Pinellas County. He's lived here for many years, but so Mike's kind of showing him the ropes, and we'll eventually get down to a system and a schedule for picking up tents and other things left on the beach, and beach trash, beach raking, park trash, the dog stations, vehicle maintenance, that sort of thing. Right now, projects they're working on cleaning out the shop, getting ready for. Have you heard anything, Mary Beth, about what's the schedule now for the new?
I haven't heard of changes.
Okay, got it.
But I mean, we're supposed to be cleaning it out.
He is working on. They are definitely working on it.
It
Okay.
should be taken down this year.
Yeah. So they're definitely working on it. Okay. So waiting for the replacement barbecue pits for Constitution Park to show up. We're having supply chain issues. Everybody is. So the barbecue pits and the radar speed signs, as soon as they get here, they'll be installed.
I know we took the shade sail down at Constitution Park, and it had some damage that we were wanting to get repaired.
It got-
Can you talk? It got repaired?
It did.
Okay.
We found somebody, Mary?
Yes, they, Mike Strippy, who we purchased it from, came down. Mike set it up in the maintenance building for him, and they mended it in there.
It's fantastic.
So it's mended, and they're, I
So
was
let's wait till
calling them
after
to
the
get it. I
summer.
know,
Wait.
I know.
Thank you, next one.
Yeah,
Let's not put it back up just yet.
Yeah.
right.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank
That's it.
you. Okay, great, thanks. Okay, moving on to old business. The first item is the continuation of hybrid Zoom meeting. So, the governor has not said we can't meet in person, so we still have to meet in person. And there's pretty much no restrictions, so it's kind of up to you guys how you want to handle this. Do you want to continue it in person and Zoom, or if you want to just do Zoom? We have to meet in person, but Zoom for attendees, Zoom for attendees.
I make a motion that we continue the hybrid. We've had better attendance than ever
Well, we
since
have
since we're
14 right
offering that.
now
Yeah.
At 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So it must be working time-wise. too,
Yeah.
this week. So,
I make a motion that we continue doing the hybrid meetings, hybrid attendees.
I second the motion.
okay, motion and a second. Any discussion amongst the commission? Okay, looking at 14 attendees, if any attendee wishes to speak, please raise your hand and we'll have 3 minutes. Mary is going to unmute you by seeing hands. There is a hand up. Mary?
Okay, we have Carol Music who would like to comment. Carol, you have 3 minutes. When I allow you to talk, please unmute yourself, state your name and your address.
Carol Music, 17822 Lee Avenue, 17820 Lee Avenue. Can you hear me?
Yep.
My question is, why have you changed the meetings to 4 p.m. and to 2 p.m.? That's very inconvenient for people who work. I was just wondering, I did not hear any discussion about that, asking the public if that was convenient.
Carol, if I may, this is a comment to the commission, not an answer and question to them. This comment was on the continuation of the hybrid meetings, Zoom meetings.
Okay, so my comment is, it was also discussed at 4 p.m. So my comment is I would prefer it to be at 6 o'clock as it normally is. A lot of people are working and they aren't able to participate.
Okay, does that complete your comment?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other attendees wish to speak on that subject? I see none. Mary?
No.
Okay. So we need to,
So may I was going to ask the question that Carol asked as to whether or not we've had any comment or any feedback from residents of the town. We said that we would do this, see how it worked out, and go from there. So we had very lengthy discussion about it in an earlier meeting when we did this. Anybody had any comment? I have not.
I had one email from one resident that stated they would rather see him at the other time. Have not heard from anyone else on it.
I've had a
Okay.
couple of remarks, complaints about that, but just verbal. Nobody put it in writing.
we're having 14 on or whatever on there, so.
No, I mean the time, yeah,
Yeah, I think something we just need to continue to monitor.
right.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, please call up. Oh, okay. Well, look, anyone want to comment about it? You guys are here.
Yeah,
You want to talk?
I have had a
About-
few.
State your name.
Chris Hernandez. I live at 154 175th Avenue East, Redington Shores. I've had several people that were supposed to come today tell me they couldn't come today. I'm here to give them information, actually. So I think the 4 o'clock thing, while it might be convenient for me because I have a flexible schedule at times, some people that don't, it does make it a little bit inconvenient.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Like I said, this is the first one I've attended. I'm attending myself, but I'm going to take the information back to the people that unfortunately couldn't be here because of the time. So I think it does impact some of the residents. How many? I couldn't tell you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion, comments? Mary, please call roll.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes,
Commissioner Kraut, Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Henderson.
Yes. Okay, second item is our Chair Lisa Henderson is going to give an update from the personnel committee on the drug and alcohol policy.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission, Lisa Hendrickson, Chair of the Personnel Advisory Board. And on February 26, 2021, the Personnel Advisory Board met to discuss their most recent assignment, which was the review of the drug and alcohol policy and determine if there were any updates that were needed for the policy. We concluded that forwarding the policy to the Florida League of Cities law advisors to render an opinion as to whether the policy was appropriate, both under Florida and federal laws, specifically as it relates to Florida Statute 112 for public employees, as well as Florida Statute 440, which is the workers' compensation statute. And in addition to that, the U.S. Department of Transportation requirements. So the policy was sent to the Florida League of City Law Advisors. That is a free benefit that the town has under your insurance policy through the Florida League of Cities. It's a great benefit. And the law advisors concluded only drivers that are required to possess a CDL would fall under the US DOT guidelines. Since Redington Shores does not have any positions that require a CDL license, then the policy does not need to be modified to conform with any of the US DOT guidelines. So the policy is in compliance in that area. Regarding medical marijuana as it relates to Florida Statute 112 and 440, we all know marijuana is currently illegal on the federal level. For the time being, there is no special accommodation for medical marijuana usage, and no change necessary is required to the policy at this time. What they did recommend is if the town is presented with an employee case where medical marijuana is relevant, that they handle that issue on a case-by-case basis and in accordance with the Americans with Disability Act, ADA. Again, no addition to the policy is needed to cover the provision of medical marijuana. The Florida League of City Law Advisors opinioned that the Florida Drug-Free Workplace Act, as well as the Drug-Free Workplace Program requirements, as outlined in the current town policy, are all in compliance. The only thing that the Personnel Advisory Committee concluded was that the text document itself could potentially be upgraded to a Word version in a more user-friendly text. But other than that, we did not opinion to make any changes to the policy, and I bring that forward to you today. Unless there's any other areas the commission would like us to look into, the Personnel Advisory Committee would conclude that that task is closed. You're welcome.
Items to vote on, right?
No, we're good because not a change. Great research, great help, Lisa. Really appreciate it. Yep.
Just stay there, Lisa.
Okay.
We're not done with you yet.
Oh, we're just getting started. Go ahead with item number 3. Okay.
Item number 3, update on the town administrator job description and ordinance.
Okay, so this one is a little more dynamic, and I do stand before you today seeking firm direction from all of you by reason of a vote, if you will. On July 8th, the commission directed a review of the charter, the town charter, the draft job description that was used historically for the town, as it relates to the position of town administrator, and requested feedback from the Personnel Advisory Committee as it relates to the town administrator, and specifically the reporting relationship to the town administrator of the other town employees. After a very in-depth review and analysis of the charter, it was obscure as to whether or not the appointed positions can only report to the commission and not the town administrator. My professional opinion, which I bring more than 20 plus years of public administration to you, is that the commission has the right to confer your power and authority to the town administrator and articulate exactly what power and authority the town administrator would have under your direction. So specifically to outline it, the commission has two choices. They can, one, choose to have the appointed positions, and let me just sidebar for a second for the audience and identify what those appointed positions are. The appointed positions are the town attorney, the town clerk, and it appears the deputy town clerk. So for those
Wait a second.
positions, go ahead.
So we appoint, okay, so we appoint the deputy clerk and the, okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Actually, I thought Mary, didn't the town clerk appoint the deputy clerk? With the approval.
With the approval of the
Correct.
commission.
So, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
It's that
So,
Yes.
so, yeah.
So the commission, number one, your choice, you can have the appointed positions report directly to you. Or number two, you can choose to confer your power and authority and have the appointed positions, and I would exclude the town attorney from this, but you can confer your power and authority to have the appointed positions report directly to the town administrator. So you have two choices. With those two choices, I have drafted before you in your packet an ordinance for each of the decisions. And so at this time, what I would do is answer any questions that you have relating to the two packages before you. I will be looking for direction and approval on one of the two drafts, whichever your choice is. After your choice of which draft we are going to with, then the draft will need to be finalized by the clerk, formatted in its final form, whatever that means for the town. And then it needs to have two public reads. So she'll need to put it on the agenda for the first read, second read. Once that second read is approved, then you can recruit for your town administrator and post it and interview and all that good stuff.
So has has our attorney already reviewed both of these?
Alternate.
Yes, we have, and there have been multiple conferences I know between Ms. Henderson and Mr. Denhart, and we're comfortable with both of the proposals that are before you as far as conforming with your charter. We agree you have the right and authority to pick either of those, and it's up to you which you would like to choose.
Okay. So once we get this ordinance figured out, we're not approving this job description tonight, are we, or are we?
You can,
Is this a
well,
separate thing, or that'll be another time, or?
so the job description, there's a statement in both ordinances which states that in section 7, both ordinances are identical. In section 7, it says, the qualifications, duties, functions, responsibility of the town administrator shall be outlined in a job description approved by the Board of Commissioners and for which may be updated from time to time. So in my professional opinion, what I would suggest is once you have the second read of the ordinance, you approve the job description separately, so it's not part of the ordinance, because you could change it from time to time. And so you don't want it conform to that ordinance of law.
So I was going to ask you, Lisa, when I compared the two job descriptions, I saw no difference. So that's apparently why. That
Yeah.
makes sense to me now.
Yeah.
The only difference in the job descriptions are up above in the title where it says supervises.
Oh, I see.
That's
Got it.
that's one difference. And then there is a bullet. Let's see.
I tried to compare these side by side. I
One,
thought
two,
they were
three,
identical.
four. Believe it is, let's see. Well, you know what? Actually, it might be just the header under supervises that is different. And if you compared them side by side and didn't find anything, it's just the header up top.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So then task today is to determine whether we prefer the ordinance that allows this additional level of management to have direct reports, including all administrative town employees except the town attorney.
Correct. So draft number 1
Mhm.
up at the top excludes
Oh, I see.
supervision of appointed positions.
Mhm.
And then draft number 2 includes supervision of appointed positions.
With exception of the town attorney.
Exactly.
Which
And
makes
that
sense.
is,
That makes
I
sense.
think that's in the header as
Yes, it
well
is.
on the
Mhm.
job
Oh, yeah,
description.
also.
Yeah.
May I make a motion that we discuss the
Do we have to have a motion?
aforementioned?
Motion and a second, and then I'd like to send, like, open it for discussion. I'll have to-
Oh, we don't make a motion to discuss?
Not to
We have to,
discuss.
you have to make a motion to,
If you make a
Approve.
motion, we end up getting to discuss. So, yeah.
so the motion would be, you could either make a motion to accept one or the other.
Oh, you want me to do that? I make a motion that we accept ordinance, the second ordinance option, which allows the town administrator to be an additional level of management, which will supervise all of the employees with the exception of the appointed town attorney.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Now we can open it up for discussion. So, we can start that discussion. Discuss what?
I have no discussion. I think we're adding a level of management, and I think organizations do that from time to time. And when they do that, different reporting relationships are identified with no change in status of the employee.
Right.
So for me, this is normal business.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I said before when we were discussing this that I wouldn't approve hiring a town administrator unless they had that responsibility and authority. The commission still has the hiring and firing authority, so that does not rest with this administrator. But in order to get the business of the town done, there has to be some responsibility and there has to be a chain of command. So I support it.
I agree. And I think when we get down to it, that the job description, we have to be really clear since this is a change. I think we have to be really clear in the job description, the things that the commissioners will still be responsible for. So for instance, it's really important, the communication, if there's a complaint from a resident or an issue that what I don't want to see is that all handled and then a commissioner who's responsible for that area not know anything about it and get, called on the carpet for something that we know nothing about. So that in the job description is going to be, to me, really important. And I'm not sure if it's the job description or the operations manual. But that will probably have to go through some changes once we add the administrator position, the operations manual.
And if I may speak, I think that exactly what you're saying, Commissioner Blackburn, has a lot to do with the commission setting clear expectations for the town administrator.
Mhm.
And if you refer a complaint to the town administrator, your expectation is that the person will handle it toot sweet and then reply back to you when it's done with the outcome. So I think that's a management level of expectation and responsibility of the commission
Right.
and the town administrator. Now, this town administrator is going to have 5 bosses, and each 5 are going to have different styles or expectations. It is the job of that town administrator to know what those expectations are and to conform to them.
Right.
If not, as outlined in the charter, you have the right to dismiss that town administrator.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be, yeah. So and the administrator, I'm assuming what I perceive, the administrator, this level of person would be implementing systems so it's not catch as catch can, if something happens, and that there'll be a system for following up on problems or situations or complaints from citizens, so that, God forbid, that if the administrator moves away or, something happens, that we still have the system in place and we can put somebody new into it easier.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
When you enter into this structure of government, if you will, which is the most popular in Florida, whether you have a town administrator or whether you have a city manager form of government, whichever the town chooses, it is the most popular in the state of Florida. It's only here in our county, which has 24 cities, that are very small communities are not a city manager form of government. Redington Shores, of course, being one of them. With the premise of that, when you bring a professional manager into your organization, you as a commission are the policy makers. You tell the town administrator what the policy is, and then they're tasked with implementing that policy and making sure that the employees they govern are providing services efficiently, that they are responding to the residents efficiently, and it makes for more effective government, if you will, because all of that burden is not on you as a commissioner. You, instead of having to call an employee over the weekend, you call your town administrator, and that town administrator takes care of whatever the situation is and then follows up with you. And it allows you to be the political party that you've been elected to be, the freedom to do just that for the residents.
Got it. I'm really excited about this step.
I think it's a
It'll
really
be
great
good for the
addition.
town.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're moving in the right direction.
Any other discussion? All right, I want to ask the attendees if they have any comments. If you do, please raise your hand. You'll have 3 minutes. Mary? Yes, we have Carol Music with her hand raised. Carol, if you would please unmute yourself and state your name, address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
I'm sorry, I didn't lower my hand from last time. I don't have any comment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? How about any audience here? Okay, no other discussion. We have a motion and a second, so Mary, will you please call roll?
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Commissioner Kraut,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Henderson.
Okay. Moving on.
Thank you, Lisa, for
Thanks, Lisa.
everything, and
Appreciate
the
it.
Personnel Committee and Henderson Consulting.
Okay. The third item is proposed ordinance amending section 90.3 accessory structure says. I believe that is you. Commissioner Kraft.
So in your packet, you had previously received attachment 1, 2, and 3. And you just received a cover page. So does everybody have that cover
Mhm.
page? It should be on their
Yeah.
table.
Yep.
It actually should have been part of the
Should be in the binder
first thing. It says it's titled Shed Ordinance Change Review.
overview.
So I'm sure that you had a chance to look at attachment 1, 2, and 3, and basically that is the history of the process of adopting, changing this ordinance. And I just wanted to ask a few questions with regard to consideration, because in the proposed amendment, we have a repeat of the item number 4 exceptions, the storage sheds not exceeding blank feet in height, blank feet in width, or blank feet in depth. We do have that address currently in the ordinances, so that would be a repeat. The only thing would be in that, do we want to change any element of that since we're moving the shed closer to the property line. So in the past, it's been 15 feet. We're suggesting it go to 5 feet as a rear setback. So that makes a 10-foot. Now the shed, the 10-foot height of the shed is from ground to peak. It's not a midpoint of a frame or whatever. It's ground to peak, but it is a 10-foot high shed. We're now moving it back 10 feet closer to a property line. Do you want to keep the shed the same height as it is currently?
Did you do any like standard? go to
There
Home
is
Depot,
absolutely-
Buy a shed.
There is nothing standard about a shed, nor is there anything standard about shed ordinances in our community, up and down our beaches. We range from no sheds allowed to no permits for sheds. So we have just an incredible range. Our purpose with this was primarily with our small properties. And this is again dealing with sheds only that are not non-water view properties. Okay, I want to be clear with that. Our properties are so small and our sheds are allowed to be 10 by 10 by 10. So if you move a shed back 15 feet and then put a 10-foot shed, you literally have a shed 25 feet starting back from the beginning of a backyard. Well, that person's backyard may only be 40 or 30 feet deep. So you have a shed basically in the middle of the yard. So, all right, the purpose for this was to be more practical and to address a need for sheds in the community. So I do want to ask, does anybody want to discuss the shed height? Is that an issue for anybody?
Let me ask you why. I mean, if they're not on the water and they're really not obstructing anybody's view per se.
Would it,
What would be the harm, let me say,
there's no harm in any way. It would be to be considerate of the neighbors behind that you're backing your shed closer to. Is it more in their
I
face?
see.
Is it more in their face?
What's our fence height?
6 foot.
So we
Okay.
have a 6-foot fence and a 10-foot shed.
But
And
the
shed-
house is how tall? I mean,
Houses are 1 story,
Yeah.
so the line of sight out windows are gonna be, looking. It's just something to consider. It's not something.
But it'd be 5 feet from the fence line, right? Or
5
from the,
feet from the fence,
okay,
from the property line.
yeah,
I'm sorry,
property line, sorry.
Yeah.
I think 10 feet, this 10 by 10 by 10. It might as well. I mean, if it's a problem, we're gonna find out and then we can re-legislate it later.
You can always,
If
we
there's
can
no
always-
standard. But there's always the law of unintended consequences,
exactly.
and we don't know what those are gonna be.
We can't.
We'll
predict.
find
This is
out.
Just something in my, when I looked after shed ordinance, after shed ordinance, after shed ordinance.
But let me ask you a question. So right now, we're just voting on the size of it,
No,
and then the changing the setback is a separate thing that we'll vote on?
No, if you look at the ordinance, Jenny,
Mhm.
there's under section 4. So basically, the
Okay.
primary purpose of this is to move a shed, allow a shed to be close to the property line.
We're
okay.
doing both then. Okay.
Secondary to that, we had the option of
Changing the,
either repeating the height, depth, and whatever of a shed, or changing the height. depth
okay,
of the
okay.
shed. Okay, so
so currently there's a 10 by 10.
10 by 10 by 10.
I thought it was-
So do we have a motion on the table?
well, not yet. This is the
Okay,
question.
got it. Okay.
I'll make a motion. Well, somebody can.
That's a pretty damn big shed.
It's a very big shed and it's a tall shed. So,
Yeah.
Well, the other part is, you're looking for storage too, and for houses, maybe, we're talking about the smaller.
But the
homes.
10 by 10 by 10 is what it is now. So if we make it smaller, then we
Oh.
have people that are gonna be in violation, right?
well, no,
Well-
okay, there's a second, there's actually an allowance on this ordinance that as far as a setback, or if we decide to change the height,
Mhm.
that any sheds that.
Oh,
were-
I see. Yeah, okay.
Okay, built for,
Mm,
okay,
okay.
shall be considered in compliance.
I mean, you're looking at a garage.
It's
with
very big.
8-foot walls and 10-foot.
You
10-foot
do
peak
have
to
to
it?
keep in mind that our citizens have pretty small homes.
Mhm.
Yep.
And they don't have a lot of storage in their homes.
Yeah.
And not always a
But a
garage.
shed is simply for storage.
And not always a garage either.
So,
And the 10 by 10 now.
It's 10 by 10 by 10 now. Listen, I'm okay. And even with what
Yeah,
Jenny
okay.
said, is to keep it the same. And if we find
Yeah.
that it's a, I
Yeah,
mean, what do you think, Lauren? I mean, should we change it now under the anticipation, or should we just say, less is better and,
Well, it's completely up to you what you all want to do. Whatever direction you give us, we can
Right.
take out that first sentence about not exceeding our first portion of the first sentence, certain feet in height and width, and it'll just default back to 10 by 10 by 10. And at any time that you want to amend the ordinance down the road, you can certainly add that in there.
my preference is
Yeah,
not
I
to
think-
over-ordinate.
Well,
yeah, my
Over
expect-
our residents.
my expectation is that with most of these small lots and these small homes, they're not gonna be placing a 10 by 10 shed on their postage stamp lot, anyway. They just don't have the space.
There are
for
a lot
it,
of
so
sheds
I'm
that are
not too worried
smaller.
about it.
There are sheds that are smaller,
Yeah.
but honestly, Michael, we do have permit requests for 10 by 10 by 10, so.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So do you want to move on with that and just say, we're not going to address that? If it becomes an issue, we will address it at that point. Be comfortable with that?
Mhm.
Okay, my next one is, again, in my research, with all the other communities, some communities do require a non-conversion agreement for a shed. So we could add that if we want to. And that is that it is, will never be able to be converted to a,
Dwelling.
with
Yes.
electricity and plumbing.
100%.
So that is something to consider. And I want to add like this third one, which is kind of goes hand in hand with that, is we don't say in our ordinance that we cannot have electrical or plumbing to our sheds. There are some towns that specifically state no electrical or plumbing because they want a shed to be a shed. We say that our shed is for storage. We don't address that. So those are two things that I just wanted to bring to your attention. Since we're changing the shed ordinance, if you
Wouldn't that
want.
be a FEMA thing, really? Because you're not supposed to really do that on the ground anyway. You can't add plumbing and whatnot.
Well, you're not supposed to,
Not
but it's like if,
Well, I actually, it's when I spoke with when I spoke with our building official, he felt it was unnecessary to make a non-conversion agreement for sheds and the electrical and plumbing. He felt that that was something that would be easily defensible and saying, this is a shed, it was primarily for storage. So I'm glad you brought that
You're
up.
just not gonna
because-
permit it.
Right.
I just keep thinking about that
Not-
Seinfeld episode where George Costanza got fired from something that he
Okay,
did
sure.
egregious.
Well,
And
it's-
his argument was, well, if you had only said something.
So also, once again, I just want to bring this to your attention
Mhm.
while we're doing this. And again, I don't want to overregulate. And at this point, maybe we should just say, hey, we're aware of this. And, if we have issues coming down the pike, we can create an ordinance. But because primarily the focus of this was to correct the setback.
I'm really for those other two things, though. The non-conversion, because I can see people saying, well, they didn't say I couldn't, I think, why not? That say that the non-conversion and no electric or plumbing. 'Cause I can see it happening. Oh, well, they didn't say I couldn't. This is not adding that much to it, and we're changing it anyway. Modifying it anyway.
It's a clarification. And
I
state
really,
The plumbing permit would come in for it and it would get denied
Denied.
anyway. 'Cause
plumbing, electric.
but I can see
But
somebody saying, yeah, but it
possibly
was
not
just,
electric, because you could mount the electric high enough, it would be
Above
plumbing.
the-
Yeah, it would be plumbing. The electric, you put it high enough.
yeah, but I can see people saying, oh, well, it's a shed though, so I don't have to get a permit. I can see it.
So you're saying you'd rather have it in there because it adds the clarification. So
Because
it gives the building official something
Someone
to
will-
point to when somebody comes in and asks.
someone will test it.
It is helpful.
It's not hurting anything by putting it in there.
Because that's our intent, not to allow that to go on one way or another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's original thinkers out there that would say,
Yep.
I got this figured out. I got the workaround.
Because because we allow such a large shed. We are a community that allows the largest and highest sheds up and down the pike.
I'm for the whole thing. Can I make a motion?
You can, if you want to make a motion.
Do we open it up for that?
Is there any more
Public?
discussion or anything about this?
I don't know that we need a motion on it. I just need consensus as to how you'd like us to amend the ordinance.
Oh, okay.
For no electric and plumbing, that's easy to add. The no conversion agreement, and somebody you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think that a lot of jurisdictions actually have a separate agreement that has to be signed in conjunction with the permit.
And
for the
I have,
shed.
I do have a
cool.
copy of one. I have a copy of one.
So
I
that,
can-
I just want to know if that, whether we just want language in the ordinance that says it cannot be converted into a living space and it cannot contain electric, cannot contain plumbing,
Oh,
or whether we want to.
They have to sign something.
I
A
would,
separate agreement.
now you can probably give us your opinion on this, but my understanding is that most ordinances that do address this do have a sign.
Mhm.
I've seen it both ways.
Okay,
It's another tool in your toolbox. It's hard for somebody to say they didn't know if they signed it. Most of the time, I find that people that are going to ask permission and come in, you know, you don't have the issue with this, the ones that were unpermitted to begin with, but.
and one thing that this non-conversion agreement would, having a signed one would help is that in the resale of a property, if someone has converted their unit, now a new member buys, this is an in perpetuity agreement, so it would help us in that regard. You know, if a person moves in and it's already done, they say, well, it's done. Well, no.
Okay.
I know, I have one. I'm sure you have many. but-
Perfect.
Okay, so Jenny, you want to make a motion?
Are we making a motion to move this forward then or not?
Oh, we
Well-
consensus, okay.
I think before I voice my opinion on it, I'd want to hear if there's anybody that's in attendance. Comment.
Anybody out here who wishes to speak?
My name is Jeff Passiork, and the house in question that I'm trying to have a shed built.
Just please,
Your name
have
and
his name
address.
and address.
Oh. My name is Jeff Passiork. My address where I live is 6310 County Line Road, Chesterfield Township, Michigan. The house in question that I'm here for is 141, 174th Terrace Drive East, Redington Shores. And I've actually could go sit here and talk to you for hours about this, but all we're trying to do is have a shed built. We went ahead and poured the slab, we paid for the shed, and we just want to have the shed built. That's all we're looking to do. So as far as if you look under Pinellas County, they have it where it's under 100 square foot, you know, with the 10 foot and all that. I have a neighbor that has one that's that size. And so all we're trying to do is really get a shed built.
Excuse me, Mayor, and I'm sorry. That's actually item number 2 under new business for the recommendation
Oh,
from the
totally
Planning and
separate
Zoning
from
Board. They're talking about the shed ordinance, but your item isn't up yet.
Oh, good. Well, I don't have to come back up then. 'Cause you heard me.
Well, yeah.
Well, we want to hear from you again, though.
Do you have any?
Well, anything pertaining to that,
the fire-
technically, if somebody had a shed and they wanted to put plumbing in it and it doesn't have footings, you guys wouldn't approve it anyways. So you can't convert it over to living space because they don't have footings under it.
you could-
They could try.
Well, they could do it and
You know,
get caught when they sell the house and then it's got to be converted back over, tore apart. So, but I do agree with you.
yeah. It's,
So, okay.
you know, original thinkers and being what they are.
Or did you want to see? Oh, we have a 10B. Thank you. Do you want to? We have a 10B, Mary, got her hand raised.
Okay, Steve Blair, you have wanted to comment to the commission. Steve, when I unmute you or allow you to talk, please unmute yourself, state your name, address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just going to say, I think it's really important to not have electricity run to these places, especially if they're 10 feet high, because someone's going to put a light up there for their backyard or for a security light or something like that. And then I think that'll really affect the neighbors if you have a big light 10 feet high in your backyard. So that's what oh, excuse me. And I'm Steve Laird, and I'm at 148 175th Avenue East.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
So Steve, you're not opposed to the 12 or the 10-foot high structure?
It's beyond me to talk about that because I have to look. I mean, I don't know how it looks and everything else, but it wouldn't affect me personally.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Good point about the electric. Yeah.
Let's say who I am again. Chris Hernandez,
And the
154 175th Avenue East. All right, same place I was before. I'll just comment on the height of the shed. One thing to think about is that if an average guy who's 6 feet tall has to walk into there, you have to have at least a 6-foot something door, which requires a header on top of that door, right? So you don't want flat roofs probably. So you have to have a truss on top of that. So 10 feet, although it may seem high, that's to the peak of the building. The actual structure will probably have 8-foot high walls at the highest. So, I mean, I don't know what you're thinking about. I'm just trying to think. I'm with the electric thing. I think that needs to get permitted though, right? That was so, unless they're doing something legal.
See, yeah, that's what we want to, because I
know,
can
but
see some.
I'm with over-regulating stuff. Sometimes it gets hard, but I think the 10-foot thing should be addressed, but I just don't know how you're going to address, because you're going to have, if you say it's 8 feet high, then by the time you pitch a roof, you're going to have a door that's 4'6" high to get inside of your shed or something like that. So how do you access inside of the shed? if you don't have
There are a
person?
lot of sheds out there built that are 8 foot and 9 and 10 foot. So it's not unusual. Like you still would have your door, and then you could have a peak roof with a smaller height so that when you're in it, you're in the center and taller. That it's still, if it's 8 foot, if you have an 8-foot shed, it's still at least 6 feet. You could have a slow sloping roof, or you can also have a flat roof. A lot of sheds have flat roofs.
The Wally Wall ones. I was talking about a stick. I was referring more to a stick.
Yeah,
built
stick one,
shed.
a stick
Yeah,
one might
that's
be a
what
little
might
different.
might be what he's got.
Yeah,
He's getting
But
over
there,
there.
so there are, you can do it.
I was just, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter. Like I said,
no, I
I just
agree,
was
yeah.
the height
It's a
thing. I
dilemma.
just think
Yeah,
could be an issue. If somebody's stick building a shed in their
Yeah.
backyard,
Yeah.
not buying a Wally Watt or something like that.
Yeah.
that's all.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
thanks. Your comments, Mike?
No, so I'm fine with what we're suggesting, which is to include the no electric and no plumbing, just for clarification,
Mhm.
and leave it with the 10 by 10 by 10, no problem with that, and the setback. So I'm good with that.
Was yours 10 by
Okay.
10 by 10?
No, it's 100 square foot. It's 8 by 12.
Okay. Maybe we should say 100 square feet.
No, I think that's up to, that's,
think in your ordinances right now, it calls for under 100 square feet or 100 and down.
I thought it said,
10 by 10 by 10.
I thought it said 10 by 10 by 10. Am I wrong? I've been wrong.
Well, that's right, that's 100 square feet. That's like 10 foot height.
Well, it says, this section, no such structure shall exceed 100 square feet. The highest point of structure shall not exceed 10 feet, measured from the grade to the highest point of the structure. I don't have that in front of me, the 10 by 10 by 10.
Yeah, so I'm really fine with limited to 100 square feet, and that gives
Yeah,
more
let 'em
options to
configure,
the
yeah,
homeowner.
So 8 by 12, but 10, but
Yeah.
10 foot high max.
Yeah.
Okay.
100 square feet.
So instead of doing the 10 by 10, we'll say
So eliminate the 10 by 10, and
10
just
foot
make it
high,
100
no-
square feet. a height.
100 square feet.
Yeah.
And can we also just make sure that it's not written anywhere in our code, the temp, didn't we see that 10 by 10? by 10?
I remember the 100 square foot. I
100
don't
square
remember
foot, okay.
seeing a 10 by 10.
Okay,
And I
would you-
knew the height was limited.
Yeah.
to 10,
Okay,
but-
okay, then I like just going with 100 square feet, and then the height at 10 foot max, so that we don't have that midpoint, and
Yep.
it's 10 feet high.
I know you did your homework. You probably looked at a bunch of other ordinances
looked
for
at
sheds,
so
and so
many
you
things.
probably have 10 by 10 on the brain.
I looked at all 24 of them.
But
Okay, so
Consensus is we're not really making-
consensus is that we add a non-compliance, a non-conversion
Non-conversion.
agreement. Let's add a non-compliance.
We don't want that.
That we add a non-conversion agreement, that we allow the movement back to the 5 feet as a setback. And that we also have no electric or plumbing indicated in the ordinance, which may need to be in different spots, because the shed definition,
Right, it'll probably require some major changes, but that's not a problem. And we can do that and bring it back to you, or if you all want to indicate for tonight that you want us to make those changes, we can go ahead and do that. And you could refer it to the planning and zoning board. And
let's do that. Let's
Yeah,
get it.
yeah,
let's
move
get
it along.
Yeah.
And
You
then,
need to get your shed.
yeah, anytime it comes back to you after planning and zoning recommendation, you can always make any tweaks.
Okay,
Perfect.
good.
We're gonna move on.
What's next?
Under new business, first item is planning and zoning recommendation at 41 181st Avenue West, in a single family home.
Feels like I should with a science project. Okay, so I'm Jennifer Beasley. I'm the owner at 4181st Avenue West. We've been through the planning commission. I can go through all 13 points that we went through with the planning commission, or we can do a summary, whichever you prefer. But essentially, it's a non-conforming lot that is smaller than the smallest threshold within the current ordinances. My home was platted and built in 1940 before the town existed. So we went before the special magistrate to get permission to rebuild the house. The current structure is essentially at its end of life, and we're having some substantial structural challenges that we simply can't overcome without rebuilding them. So, is everyone familiar with the?
Sorry, what year did you say this was built again?
1940.
Okay,
And Jennifer, keep
Very
in
well.
mind that we have all this documentation that we've been able to look through.
Yeah, you
So
can
you
just
can-
summarize it quick.
You
Yeah,
just need to, if you have anything to say that you might want to add, go ahead. We
Sure.
do have a lot of information. And if we have questions, we could ask you.
Yep, so, we tried to comply with all of the requirements. If there are any concerns or challenges, we're happy to answer those or make some modifications. if necessary.
I had just one kind of update, and that is on your cover sheet. You have the living square feet and the non-living. And on your first floor, your base floor, which is where your garage is, you have 681 living and 0 of non-living. But on your plans, on your first page, in the Beasley residence, you have the garage floors 559 non-living and 122 living. And the building official wanted me to convey that there was absolutely no living space
That's
permitted.
correct.
Okay,
That's correct. It's
So that was an
simply the
error.
stairs and the elevator.
okay. That was it for my input. Everything else was very clear to me.
Okay, well, no questions.
We're ready to
yeah.
motion. Move to accept the planning and zoning commissions or committees board, the planning and zoning board. The planning and zoning board's recommendation to approve the residence for the Beasleys at 41 181st Avenue West in Redington Shores.
Second.
Got a motion?
Second.
2 seconds. Got a motion by Commissioner Cobb, a second by,
My district.
all right.
Oh, yeah,
By Vice Mayor Robinson.
that's a good way to pick it.
Any discussion? I think that was it.
He's right.
Yeah. Any discussion? Mary, can you please see if any of the attendees wish to speak on this item?
I have Steve Laird. Steve, did you want to speak on this item or did you not lower your hand?
I don't think he lowered his hand, but I'm not. He just lowered it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see any other. I don't have anyone else.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mary. Anybody in the audience have anything to say? All right, Mary, will you please call?
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Commissioner Kraut.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Henderson.
Yes, congratulations. Thank you.
Appreciate your diligence.
Yes.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes.
Where are you going?
I don't know. Somebody knew it.
Thank you,
Okay.
Jennifer.
The second item is planning and zoning recommendation and the administrative appeal for the placement of the shed.
Oh, I move that we accept the Planning and Zoning Board's recommendation that we consider moving the shed ordinance, correcting the shed ordinance to lessen it to 5 feet so that we can begin to accommodate the needs of our residents. And they, in their proposal to us, they asked that we make that consideration, which I believe we have already agreed to do
Mhm.
since we're in the process of changing the ordinance. So I move that we accept the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation for this.
And then is that to allow them to go ahead and continue with their
Not
shed?
not until the ordinance is changed. I don't think we can do that.
Why can't we?
So
We-
if I may here,
Yeah.
it looks like this is an administrative appeal that was sent to Planning and Zoning Board as
Yep.
far as the building
That's
official's
correct.
interpretation. It is now here before you. Their recommendation in reading the minutes was a little difficult to discern exactly. I understood that they want this individual to be able to build a shed and wanted the commission to grant a variance. Under your code of ordinances and land development code, though, there is no path without them actually applying for a variance for the commission to grant such a variance. The item before you tonight is really whether you agree with the building official's interpretation
Okay.
of that setback. I did see they also recommended changing the ordinance. which would
Correct.
indicate if
Okay.
you want to move forward with doing, but the matter before them was really a building official interpretation, which is now before you to affirm or reverse.
Okay.
So-
And his decision was that in fact, a permit is needed. It needs to be approved and that it was not out of order not to approve the permit.
Right, the building official's interpretation is that the current location where the shed is.
It
It's
could-
not in conformance with our current ordinances.
Exactly.
So
And
the
that you agree.
complainants have an option to go to special magistrate at this point or wait until the ordinance is changed.
That's correct.
Which, and the ordinance
3 months,
will take us 3 months to get there.
correct.
What a variance is.
And the reason there is a difference is the variance, of course, would be advertised and.
Well, is there any way you could let them, is there anything that we as a commission could do today? Without
Yeah,
delaying.
give
them?
it-
Well, you
Yeah.
certainly could refund the fees, you could waive a fee and as far as the application fees considered, but there would still need to be a public hearing scheduled for the variance.
You mean waive the fee for the variance because it has taken a while?
You could, and I noticed that planning and zoning commission also thought that the fee for the administrative official appeal should be waived or refunded.
Okay.
And that's a commission decision within your authority to do.
Yeah, I'd like to do something to move it
Me
move it
too.
along
I
rather
mean,
than require them to wait,
3
given
months.
what our sense is here on what we're going to do with the the ordinance, and it seems like we got
He's gonna, they're gonna be in compliance pretty soon,
an
like,
administrative roadblock to doing what we want to
There's
get
no
done.
other way for us to say, go ahead with your check tonight. There's nothing that the commission can do.
No, because until you pass the ordinance and change it, your laws prohibit without a variance.
so how
Well, if they
long?
want to do a variance, then I would absolutely say we're not going to charge them.
Yeah, waive
No,
the
I
fee.
wouldn't either, and see what we can do to speed the expedite the
And I'll
variance.
call a special meeting if we
Yeah.
want to, you know, do something. It's just gotten waited for so long.
I agree.
I mean, and you worked on it, you know, very.
How
hard.
long will the variance take?
Well, we gotta add
Can-
time.
Got to get the P and Z.
It wouldn't go
Well,
to
not
P&Z,
P&Z,
Within 30
it goes
days.
on
I
back.
mean, you get the answer within 30
quicker.
days, and then we have to then approve that, which we could do a special.
You wouldn't need to, special
Oh.
magistrate.
Oh, special
Can
magistrate. I'm
approve
thinking
it.
it's P and Z.
So it could be, it just depends on his schedule. You could schedule a meeting relatively quickly.
So we could say
Do
within
it.
30 days, we could get that done.
I would think
But I would-
Yeah.
I would just caution that obviously special magistrate track, we don't know how he will
Hmm.
decide.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can't
And it-
direct him to decide. one
Right,
way or
right,
another.
No, well, worst comes to worst, he denies it, and then we
We
just wait
do
for
it.
the ordinance change.
We
I mean,
do
at
it.
least I think we got a better, I think we got a
And
better
there
chance
was
of moving
activity
forward.
pre-permitting done in construction with this particular
Situation.
situation.
Okay.
All right, so.
Yeah, I don't know that we need a,
What
do we need a motion on the other things that the
Is there a
P&Z
motion?
board?
I think we're gonna have to say, we're gonna have to send it to, for a special magistrate and not charge them any fees and try to do that as quickly as possible.
Yes, there should be a motion to that effect, that you'd be waiving the fee and that it should be expedited as quickly as possible. And then the matter before you tonight is also whether you are going to affirm the building official's interpretation of the code, which has been brought to you by the applicants of their request. Unless they withdraw that, you should make a motion on it. I realize it's procedural.
Am I able to say something? Do I gotta go up there again?
Yes, wait.
My name and everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, please.
Maybe we'll
Just for the
try
record.
this time.
Jeff S. York, 6310 County Line Road, Chesterfield Township, Michigan. This has actually been going on since 2018. I've spent over $13,000 coming back and forth to build a shed. It's, a shed. I can't get over this, and it blows my mind, to be truthful. If I can't build the shed now, what it was is Neil told me, why don't you just have someone else hire a company to build it? I wanted to build it myself. I'm a contractor. I build houses. I build commercial buildings. I say, you know what? I'm going to go to Florida and I'll relax. I'll hire a company to build my shed. So I hire a company to build it. And then I've been going through this. I paid them the money for the shed already. I already paid for the slab to be down. If I have to call them up tomorrow morning and tell them that you guys didn't approve me to build a shed, they got to give me my credit. They're going to credit me. And then they're going to recharge me 25. They're going to charge me I don't know what they call it. It's like a restocking fee. I'm getting penalized for getting my money back, excuse me. And then they're going to charge me another 20-something% because the prices of lumber went up. So this is going to be a $15,000 shed by the time I'm done. I really like, I'm glad we bought here in your community, and I really, really like it here a lot. But this blows my mind that I have to go through this for a shed. It's a shed. When I was here a month ago and I talked with whoever they were, I was the understanding that if they approved my variance, that I'd be able to come to you guys today and it'd be up to you guys without changing the ordinance, is what I was understanding. I could be wrong, probably am, but since 2018.
Now, I just have a question on that. The permit that we have been looking at was not requested in 2018.
Right, what it was.
How is your storyline?
Well, what it was is we bought the house in 2018.
Okay.
We met with the building inspector. His name was Jeff. I don't remember his last name. About maybe building up on the house. And at the time we talked to him about a shed. He told us you don't need a permit to have a shed. So I said, okay, not a big deal. It seemed weird to me. I have to have a permit for everything I do everywhere I go. So I said, okay, not a big deal. We don't want a shed right now anyways. So about a year went by, and then I figured, let's get a shed built. I'm tired of moving the bicycles, lawnmowers, everything in and out of the house. It's terrible. So I came down here to talk to see if we have to get a building permit or whatever we have to do. And at the time, you guys didn't have a building inspector. I guess he was gone, he didn't have one. So I came back about 3 or 4 months later, and you guys hired Neil as, I think he was part-time. And he said, get back with me in a couple months once I get acclimated with what we got going on here. And then we were dealing with Neil. Then Neil, we were talking with him over the months, And he looked into your sections and all your ordinances and said that I have to talk to the sitting attorney and the mayor, I think it was, and then I'll get back with you. So he got back with us and said, yes, go ahead and submit all your paperwork. As soon as it hits my desk, I'll approve it. We sent it to, well, actually, Tough Shed sent it over. A month went by, and I've been dealing with this, and it's a shed, so it's a little bit overwhelming dealing with the shed. So I finally told my sister, you got to deal with this. I can't do this no more. So she called, she talked to Neil, and Neil said, oh, well, a month later, it said on his desk. And my sister called, and they said, oh, well, get back with me tomorrow. The next morning, Tracy called and said, you can come down and apply and get the permit and pay for it. Later that evening, Neil called on his personal phone and said, I can't give you the shed because I'm being sued for letting somebody else do something they shouldn't have did. So that's why we're here again. You know, I went in front of the board or whoever it was, I don't know. But so that's why it's been going on since 2018. I wasn't pursuing it a lot in the beginning.
You had thought about doing
Yeah,
something.
and we did meet
But
with the inspector.
I just wanted to understand the date of the permit was not backdated.
2018.
It was a
Yeah.
2021.
So,
permit.
but 28, so you bought it 2018 and 2018, somebody named Jeff said you don't need a permit.
Yeah, yeah.
So you started on it?
I mean, there was a lot more in between that. I can't
Yeah.
remember everything I
Joseph.
did.
Oh, Joseph.
But yeah, I thought that we went for the variance and they recommended it to be approved. Well, if they recommended the variance to be approved, I don't understand why you wouldn't approve it if you'd make me wait, because now it's going to cost me another $2,500.
Wait a second, but did you say the slab is already poured?
We were told by Neil we did not have to have a permit for a slab because there was no footings. It was under 100 square foot.
There are no footings.
Pardon me?
There are no footings.
No, you don't have footings under 100 square foot. No.
So I want to do whatever it takes to expedite this.
Mhm.
You know, I don't want us to get wrapped around the axle and costing this gentleman, you know, money because of
Mhm.
our ineptitude or delay.
We got a side contact.
If the
going
property
here.
values went up, I could have almost bought another house here for the price I'm gonna have into a shed, you know?
Excuse me, Mary Beth, do you want to share with your conversation with?
No, I don't, right, a second. I'm trying to figure out how we can do this. Like, I mean, there's been a lot of wrongs.
Right, we
I
want
think
to,
you're right.
right, and we want to
You know, I mean,
learn.
I can empathize and I feel, I understand the story.
Okay, so
I'm trying to figure out the way.
does Attorney Rubenstein have a suggestion for how we can do this and expedite this?
I have no suggestion other than what I've suggested previously of having it heard as a variance.
And wait,
It doesn't look like it came forward as a variance application. It was an appeal of an administrative official, unless there's a variance application I haven't seen. And
I
so
don't think so.
the variance, I believe, would be the fastest and quickest way.
Mhm.
Mary could talk to how quickly Tom Trask is usually available, but I think usually within a couple weeks,
Mhm.
we can probably get something scheduled and the
Mhm.
agenda published. And
Yep.
if you're
I'll
if you're
contact him
waiving,
tomorrow.
Okay.
if you're waiving the fee, it should be easy for. the
Yeah, we're
subject
sorry you've
matter
had this
to-
trouble, and I think waiving the fee is very reasonable in trying to, expedite it as quickly as possible within our means.
Yeah, but if it's not within a couple weeks, I have to get a credit back, be penalized and get a credit, lose money, and then pay another 20-something% to have a deck built. I mean, the shed. So now, I mean, that's thousands of dollars. It's not $100 for me. You're talking $2,000-3,000.
Do you have some paperwork about that from
Pardon me?
do you have some paperwork about that from the shed people?
No, but that's just the
I
way
mean,
it
is
is.
that part of the
It's
contract?
just the way it is. I
Yeah.
mean, the price of materials has gone.
No, I
it's
know,
gone
but-
Through the roof, and if you
Mhm.
delay it, and I'm going through that with Lava Spanner right now and a couple of contracts that we've got. If we don't move
Right.
quickly,
Yeah.
we're gonna, our costs are gonna go.
And they've been working with me.
Right, I mean, I don't, to penalize you without,
Trying to tell them, it's not gonna be a long hearing, I can't imagine.
Well, you have to get the
Depends on
letters out to a 300-foot radius. You have to get those labels and the letters out and You have to do 10-day prior.
If the shed is built without a permit and code enforcement is initiated and the variance is applied for and approved after the fact, it could come before you to waive any after the fact permit fee or
Do it.
That's a good point.
Well, technically it would have been better and easier and cheaper for me just to build the shed. Not even tell anybody, just build it, take the chance of you guys catching me, and then go doing what we have to do. But I didn't want to because I'm not from here. If I was home, I would have, but not here because I don't know what you guys would do.
I think whatever that you just said would probably be the best thing.
Well, I'm not providing that legal advice. I am
I
just
know.
providing the commission with the alternatives of what would happen if the shed was built and what actions you could take at that time.
See, this
would
is
be
why
up
I
to
think
you.
we need to have that stuff in writing about everything have to do with it, because just in case.
So
So what's the motion? We can't really make a motion for him to do something illegal.
I cannot make a motion. I cannot make that motion.
No,
I
it's not a
empathize with you,
motion.
but I cannot make that motion.
It's
I
not a-
cannot make that recommendation.
What's matter before you tonight is whether you confirm the building official's interpretation. And if you would like to waive any variance application fee if the applicant should choose to pursue that. Those are the two items you on the table.
I want you to know, I really empathize with you, but to me, it's a legal precedent that we
Mhm.
would
We
be
can't do,
setting.
we cannot,
no,
we
can't
cannot do
Yeah,
that,
I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I I
but
want you to know that. But as far
This
as,
is-
let's clear the table with, do we agree with our building officials' decision that it is a permit? Well, can you restate it for me, Lauren? I'm sorry.
Right, the building official opined that based on the code where he's proposing to place his shed is not in
Against the code.
compliance with setback.
mhm,
And I agree that that is.
that
But
is
I believe it is.
literally the case.
If you read your sections right here, it states that you have a 100 square foot, 10-foot tall. And right here, it states, if you read this, from what I understand, I'm not on the water, so this really doesn't apply to me all the way. But the way I read it, your setbacks are 5 feet and 5 feet.
Side setbacks are 5 feet, rear setbacks are
Or
15. Read it real carefully.
Can't see it.
Huh? Can't see it.
Not right now, no.
I know, you have to look for it. I'm sorry,
It is what it is.
I know.
It's just by me, if I don't get to build this shed now, even if they don't penalize me, it goes up 20-something% next month.
Mhm. And so this is something that the shed that he's building is going to be in compliance once the ordinance is changed, which we've already.
Is the height of the shed, I thought that there was a peak and that it was taller than 10 foot.
No, it's under
It's
10
not.
foot.
It's the
10
peak of
foot,
the-
8 by 12.
Yes, it's under what you're asking for. And then if you look in
With
the
slab?
papers that we sent you too, that,
Even with the slab though? Or
Pardon?
well,
Yeah.
even with the slab?
pardon?
Even with the slab?
Yes, with the slab, that's final grade.
It's still less than 10
Yes,
feet?
yep. Yep. Because I guess that's what your ordinances are in Pinellas County.
Well, it's not, ours are.
Right,
different
I
from
know everybody
Pinellas.
else
You
has
can't
them,
go
so
by
Tough
that.
Sheds builds them where they should fit in everybody's ordinances, but that's what it is.
Can you interpret for me, Cinda, where in the paperwork from Neil, does it say that it's?
I
it's
don't
the
have
10
the,
foot?
I don't have the, I don't have the,
That's
I don't
my
have
only
the
thing.
permit. I do not want to make a blanket statement that the permit will
Right.
be approved, that it meets all the criteria.
That if he does what he wants to do.
Because I thought the 10 foot was at a like it was a peak and there was a line drawn where the 10 foot was and it exceeded.
No,
the
it's
10
under
foot.
10 foot.
Okay.
For sure.
So I'd like to see that. I don't have that in front of me.
Mhm.
I'm not prepared to rule on a permit that I can't see.
Well, you're not ruling on a permit. You
No.
shouldn't be ruling on a permit. The only thing you're ruling on is whether the administrative decision of the building official
And that
was correct or incorrect on his
In
interpretation.
my
of the code.
opinion,
It was,
it's correct.
it was correct at the time because of the
correct.
15-foot
At
setback.
any time.
That's correct. Okay.
So there will need to be a motion on that.
There needs to be a motion. I make a motion that we approve the building official's interpretation that the permit should be denied based on the fact that it does not meet the permit requirements.
Perfect. Second?
Motion and a second. Motion was by Commissioner Kraus, second by Commissioner Blackburn. Any other discussion? Any attendees which to speak on this? Please raise your hand. And there you will all
All right.
I'm looking for hands and I see none. Nope, no hands. All right,
Don't we have another motion to make about the,
we'll do one at a time.
okay,
Is there any other comments out here? What about hearings?
that's a separate,
That's our
that's a,
next-
that's a
different
separate
one.
motion. I
Yeah.
jumped the gun on that.
And again, we don't know how the magistrate will rule on a variance, but I just want to, I just.
But we would
Well, we're
give
gonna
them
vote on this
information
first-
that We're going to
this
go
first one
forward with
first
the
of
change
all.
the ordinance too. We would know that going in. That's
Right,
not
okay.
so,
Yeah, that's,
I think that would-
Yeah, that's-
I mean, I can't tell you how it's gonna think, but I'm thinking, okay, 3 months is gonna be fine.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just trying to- that's right. I don't know.
He'll apply the law that's currently
Right.
in effect in the town. So he's gonna look at what's required and what are the criteria for a variance and whether or not the property meets those criteria.
well, it's worth a try. You can't lose.
Motion on the
I mean,
second.
you can lose, but it's worth a try.
And what's that?
It's worth an attempt to pursue a variance.
What do you want to do? Your vote
First, we
on your
need to vote
motion
on
and your
the-
second right now?
Yeah.
And then go to your variance discussion.
Okay.
Mary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes,
Commissioner Kraus,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
No,
Mayor Henderson.
Well, if it's split, then nothing happens.
Split failed.
So then what would happen?
I failed. Is that what you said, Lauren?
And the motion was that,
Opponent.
that you're upholding the building official's interpretation of the code.
I'm so confused right now. On the pressure right now. If it splits, what happens with his decision?
You would be in effect denying you would say that the building official's interpretation was incorrect.
if it's a tie,
Well, if it's a tie, it fails,
right,
so you will not have approved it.
got it.
I think if it's a tie, the person standing up here is the tiebreaker.
Um,
So he'd be able to build it.
Right now, you're just,
I understand that, but I have to understand what my decision means.
Your decision is,
I understand what it means. There's a lot of more than just what we're looking at on paper. I just need to know if what my decision is would change what he can do today or tomorrow.
No,
If you're,
not gonna change anything.
if the vote of commission is that the building official's interpretation is not correct, I hate to say this, I'd have to research it, but I would imagine that you would need to indicate what you feel the correct interpretation is for the building official to move forward, because right now, his interpretation is that the setback, proposed setback of 5 foot from the rear yard is not in compliance with your current code. If you feel that is not what your current code says, you'll need to provide some clarification as to what that code is.
The current code is 15 feet.
I have to agree with the building official. So,
I think it's the same outcome either way.
I'm sorry, Mayor, was your vote, did you put a vote in?
I think I did, I don't know. What was Jay's vote?
It's yes, yes, no, up to you.
Yes,
Okay.
because I didn't think it's gonna end up with the same.
So then what would be the process now?
Okay,
This is the second item we have to talk about the
Oh.
variant, I believe. And,
So-
go ahead, Michael.
So, Lauren, you said you listened to the P and Z meeting. Is that correct? Or you just read these minutes?
I read the minute.
So the minutes of the meeting, and Mary, you prepared those minutes, say that, that member Dickerson moved to recommend to the commission not to support the administrative appeal for the commission to approve a variance themselves for the shed and waive the fee for this variance. The town to look at this code for proposed amendments consistently for consistency and clarity. And that motion was seconded. So what you're saying, Lauren, is without the formal variance application, we can't just now approve a variance ourselves. I
Correct.
mean, that's the recommendation of the P and Z, that we approve a variance ourselves.
I agree. That's what P and Z recommended. I do not believe that P and Z had the authority under your code to recommend that you grant a variance, because the application that was before them was an application for an administrative review of an interpretation of a building official, not a variance application.
So had that box been checked variant, we could do this without that?
If that box had been checked variance,
It would
it would have gone to the
on track.
special magistrate and been processed as a variance application.
And we could override the
Special magistrate.
special magistrate, no matter what he did anyway. So
Uh,
what you're
yeah.
asking for is another box check.
Of the appeals of a
administrative.
special magistrate decision do come before the Board of Commissioners. However, it is for certiorari review, so you'll be basically confirming or overturning his decision based on whether it complied with the essential requirements of the law, whether there was due process, and whether it was based on substantive evidence. So yes, eventually it does come to you.
To make a decision that we already are intending to make.
Mhm.
I mean, this is ridiculous to put this gentleman through this process.
I certainly understand the commission's frustration, and I looked when I saw this on and read through the minutes to see what the options would be legally under your code. And those were what I believe you are legally confined to do.
The variance and then expedite it. So basically we have to, it's going to take some time, but he's going to be in compliance. Do you know what I'm saying? Within like a couple of months, what he's doing, I believe, if it is only 10 feet tall, it's going to be in compliance in a couple of months.
Yes, and that I understand the practicality of it is that the commission is moving forward with a proposed change. At this time, it appears all the commissioners are in favor of the change, although there has been no official ordinances voted on to make that change. And if a shed was built, whether it's his or anyone else's in the community, I believe you mentioned there were a lot of other sheds that were non-conforming and don't comply with setback. At this point in time, code enforcement could be instituted against those,
Yes.
or maybe it's not.
Right.
That's, administrative decision of the town.
Mhm.
And should this ordinance pass, those sheds would come into compliance and would not be subject to code enforcement.
Our code enforcement guy has a lot on his plate already.
Okay, so we need to talk about variance.
It's up to you guys. So we have the right to approve the variance.
No,
We don't.
we have the right to waive the.
Send it to waive the fees and send it to special magistrate.
That's just the way the boxes have to go.
Okay.
Red tape, whatever you want to call
We can make a motion to waive the fees and send it to the special magistrate.
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion that we waive the typical variance fees and send it to the special magistrate ASAP for approval.
Yeah.
That was my motion.
it. Okay, so we have a motion. I'll need a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
And how long does that process take?
Well, that's Mary. I defer to Mary.
I will contact our special magistrate tomorrow for a date. I will let him know about expediting it if he can.
And then
Oh.
we can have Mary contact you and let you know what that. how long it
Yeah,
is.
and I have to have advertised 300 feet around your property. So I have to get letters out. So everything's going to go as fast as we can. Let's put it that way.
Can the special magistrate, can this happen via Zoom so it's quicker?
Tom Trask wants to be in the building.
Oh,
You can be via Zoom if you would like.
okay.
I can't deal with it anymore personally. My sister's gonna have to deal with it.
Okay.
It's overwhelming to me.
That's fine.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay, so let me see if you have any attendees that wish to speak on this matter. See none. Mary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Commissioner Kraut,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Henderson.
Okay. Moving on to the third item. Plan and zoning recommendation.
Sorry.
Proposed ordinance. Setback on the agricultural property. Commissioner Kraut.
Here we go again. I would like, do I make a motion on this one or we just discuss to approve? Yeah, I made a motion on one, was only supposed to discuss one. Sorry, pardon me, I didn't hear.
On
you.
which thing? On which thing?
We're on the planning zoning recommendation for the proposed ordinance for setback on the
See-
agricultural property.
Oh, the seawall. Okay, all righty.
You can make a motion to approve their recommendation.
I make a motion to, I make a motion to amend the proposed property line versus seawall amendment to include the measurement for the setback between the inside of the seawall, not the sea cap.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kraut, second by Commissioner Blackburn. Any discussion? With the commission?
Jerry? Why don't you let's start listening now?
Who's yelling?
I'm sorry, there's someone on
Carol,
the Zoom call that is not muted.
can you mute her?
There you can. She muted herself. Okay, any discussion with the audience members? Oh, okay.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is actually. Can I come up here
It's,
again?
an amendment that we had, that the commission had directed and sent to the, planning and zoning board. And we had an incongruity in our, ordinance that allowed the building commissioner to make a determination, based on his judgment, whether, a setback for a home on a view property. So this would be a view property like yours. We had, I think it was a 25-foot setback. And some of the properties in the town of Redington Shores, their property line exceeds beyond the seawall
Into the water.
into the water. So it was the building commissioner's option to select the seawall as the setback or the property line as the
Building
setback.
official,
I mean, the building official. What am I saying?
commission.
Building official.
Okay.
So the building official. So it was up to him, it was a judgment call on him. So sometimes we had the judgment of the building official to go one way, sometimes the other way. So we wanted to take out the incongruity. And one of the things that we were concerned with was there are some properties that their property extends 17 feet beyond the seawall. So if they had a 25-foot setback and we counted the property line, their structure could be, so close to the seawall. So we decided the interpretation would be from the seawall. That would be the most restrictive. It would be the most restrictive, whichever was the most restrictive, whether it's property line or seawall. So that was how we changed the ordinance.
It's the inside of the seawall cap. not the
So
outside.
then it went to,
So-
then it went to P and Z, and P and Z had the recommendation. Yes, we like that, the most restrictive, but if it's the seawall, we want it to be from the inside of the seawall, not the middle of the cap, not the back of the cap, not the back of the seawall, but from the inside portion of the seawall.
Okay.
So it's sort of just
So how does that affect the people that are building pools? Because I'm in this right
so
now.
pool is
The
different.
6-foot setbacks
Yeah.
and all that.
Pool
Are
is
they
totally
still going to go to the outside of the seawall cap for that? And
Pool is totally different.
So it doesn't matter. This is just for,
Correct. This is
property.
simply for, this
Okay,
is
that's what I
simply
was
for
trying to
that.
make it
Yes,
clear.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay, anyone else care to speak on the subject? Any of our attendees that are listening in, please raise your hand if you would like to speak on this subject. I see no hands there.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Commissioner Kraut,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Henderson.
Yes, and thank you for doing that. Okay. Number 4.
Okay.
Private provider inspection fee rebate.
So,
That's you?
yep, that's me.
You are on stage.
So this is a situation that we have never encountered before, that we are aware of with Mary's consultation, that we have had a request for a private provider to be responsible for inspections for a new home. And therefore, our inspector does not do those inspections. There is a requirement from the state of Florida that if a homeowner has a private provider do inspections for them, that there is a refund or rebate given, normally at the time of the permit. So it's like a charge and then a rebate for the fact that the town is not doing the inspections. And then the homeowner pays their private party for whatever their charge is for the inspections. They are monitored by the town, so they still administrated by the town. Like the town has to approve the private inspector that they're qualified. They have forms to fill out and they have to notify us in advance every time there's an inspection. We have the option, I think 4 times possibly, I could be misstating that, but we have an option to go with or be present for some of the inspections to make sure that everything is going to order, and the private providers have to forward us their documentation of the inspection. So that's kind of the process. And what we have never done is we have never issued a rebate, and it is the responsibility of the commission to agree to the financial terms of fees and now rebates for fees. So that is why we're coming to the commission to get an approval for this basically refund. I call it a rebate, but I think it's properly called a refund. So you have the small memorandum here. I would like to read, I wrote something that might help clarify for people's views as to.
And if you want to clarify, these are on just the building permit fees.
Yes, this is based on on building permit fees.
Not
Thank you,
for
Mary.
variances or anything else. Is that what you're?
Not for impact fees or anything like
Right.
that, the
All right,
permit
right.
fees.
Yes, so
Got
when
it.
a person applies for a new build for a home, they pay permit fees, they pay plan review fees, they pay impact fees, they pay sewer tap fees, they pay fees for cutting a driveway, transportation impact fees, they pay land, not dedicated unit
Mhm.
fees, which help us to pay for our parks and recreations
Right.
and blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Right.
We're really talking about the part of the permit that deals with building fees and plan review fees. So it's the responsibility of the commission to set fees and thus these refunds. We have a private provider completing inspections for a new home, and we need to establish a flat rate rebate or a percentage rebate for refund to the permit holder. This is required by Florida statute and is our first encounter with this situation. After our review, we have two options. Option one is to set a flat rate for the rebate. We know we charge $45 for re-inspections, or if a homeowner requests additional inspections, we charge $45, which is the cost of our inspection. So we have also been told by our building official that a two-story home has an average of 36 inspections. So this would provide if we have a $45 fee and we have 36 inspections, it would provide a rebate of $1,620 to the homeowner. That's option one. Option two would be to set a percent rebate based on the building and plan review fee. The most common percent in our area, based on our town clerk's investigation and review, is 25%. We are permitted to charge an administrative fee for oversight. And if we do that, then I would recommend the rebate at 30%, which is a few towns are at 30%, and that is because they charge an administrative fee. At this time, only one municipality that we found in our investigation charged a flat rate, and the others charged a percent. And based on this flat rate, municipality is just switching to a percentage. So I don't know if that explains. Does that give you some understanding of where we're at with this? So our goal tonight would be, I would like to discuss, answer questions that you have to the best of my ability, hear feedback from our community, and then we need to I would make a motion based on what I hear for us to push forward.
So when you base that percentage, you just remove the transportation or multimodal.
It only, so basically, as opposed to removing,
staff and all those.
as opposed to removing it, you simply don't count
Right.
when you
Oh,
calculate the
okay.
rebate, but you're exactly right. Same result, yes.
And the county still does this flat rate of.
But they're switching to a 25% rate.
Okay.
They're in the process. Am I correct with that, Mary?
Correct.
Okay. Mary, did I relate that correctly?
Wonderfully.
I was good. Beautifully researched,
No, just
fabulous to
Okay.
understand.
anyway, any other questions that you can think of with regard to this? It's not common that this happens, but I'm sure it's going to happen in the future as well, because it's generally more expensive for a.
We actually do have
some.
someone that is submitting,
Submitting,
and
okay.
I heard them speak about having a private provider.
Okay.
Mhm.
And also, if it's like a room addition or something else, it would be a percentage based on a smaller amount, because the plan review fees and the permit fees are much less. So anyway, it's a percentage. The more expensive a house, the more rebate they get. But even consider, likely the more expensive a house, the more complicated the house is,
Mhm.
and the more is at risk. So
Yeah.
having a percentage is I think kind of a reasonable thing. But I am totally open to either.
I like the percentage. I think that's fair.
Michael, do you have any questions regarding this? Or?
I have to hear a motion.
Oh, I just thought if anybody had questions before I made a motion. Okay, I'll make a motion. I would like to make a motion to discuss. Oh, no, I would like to make a motion. Which one? I would like to make a motion to rebate or refund 25% of our building plan review fees to a permit holder upon request and successful registration of a private provider that will provide inspections within the requirements of our building department.
A second motion.
Okay, we got a motion by.
Please send that motion down.
Second.
What'd she say? What'd she say? What'd she say?
Any discussion, I guess, not.
What'd she say?
No.
Okay. Do we have any other, we thoroughly explained it.
It's great.
I don't have anything to add. Does anyone else? Bruce?
Does it make sense to you? Did it make sense?
It makes sense. Maybe you heard attendees wish to speak on this item.
See, yeah,
Wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand. You'll have 3 minutes.
that thing works.
I don't see any hands.
I don't either. All right, can you please call the roll? Oh, wait. a minute.
Commissioner Blackburn?
Sorry.
No, you said you wish to speak to the commission. Carol, when you're on YouTube, please state your name, your address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. You were very muffled when you were explaining what fees that you were talking about refunding 25% off, because there's inspection fees and then there's plan review fees. And so
We do not have any inspection fees on that permit. They're building fees, plumbing fees. They're just, they're actually building permit fees. And then we also have the plan review fees.
well, actually, I'm looking at mine and I have $11,000 of inspection fees and I have $2,300 of plan review fees. And so you can get a private inspector to do just a plan review only. And then you can get a private inspector to do inspection fee only. So in my case, I got a private inspector to do just inspections only. And I had the building inspector do the plan review fee. So a 25% rebate on the plan review fee would not be what the town would be saving on. What I'm hiring a private inspector to do is do the inspections. So there, for instance, there's electrical inspections that's listed here for the project of $1,500. There's mechanical inspections that's listed as $1,305. And so there's a whole list of inspection fees that's different from the plan review fees. So my question is, or what I would say is, maybe a better way to do it is whatever a person is applying for their private inspector to do, that it would be 25% of whatever those fees are that have originally been charged, whether it's private inspection or plan review or both.
I understand what you're saying. What I want to clarify is that the rebate is not based on what you're paying your private provider. The rebate is based on our calculations, and we do not separate out the inspection calculations at any point anywhere in our permitting process. We carefully review this. So I don't know what you're seeing and what you're reading, Carol, and I'll be glad to look at it, I'll be glad to look at it later, but truly, we do not specify and have not specified the cost of inspections in our permitting process.
I'm looking at the fees that Tracy sent me. And that check that my builder sent the city. I'll be glad to send it to you.
Yeah, please.
But I would until this is clarified, I would ask that you look at this before you make a vote on it.
Is that your comment?
Yes.
I wish I
Thank
had
you,
an answer
Carol.
for you, other than it's not possible, it's not possible. We don't calculate that way.
No,
Make
it's
the motion,
the percentage is on the building permit
Yeah.
fees or the plan review fees, whatever the customer is choosing
Yeah,
is how.
yeah.
So the private provider, I mean, it's pretty clear right here. If a private provider is used for inspections or plan review, so you get a reduction in the permit fee.
And you get a reduction in the plan review fee depending on what you have.
Okay.
25% of what you would have paid.
On the whole permit or just for the inspection?
We don't
we wouldn't
break out
charge
the
for the
inspections.
We
It's
don't
just
charge-
on the
we-
Oh, I
we
fee.
don't
see, okay.
separate that
Oh,
out.
I
There
see,
is no,
You're
there
right.
is no
Okay.
calculation has
Got
never
it.
been done.
Mhm.
Capiche. Okay, got it.
I mean, Carol, I'll be glad to look at it and everything, and help you understand it, but there must be a misunderstanding
Mhm.
from what you're saying. I can't explain that.
Okay, we have one other hand raised. Jerry. you-
I see, Jerry. Jerry Music, I'm gonna allow you to talk. Please unmute yourself. State your name and your address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Hi, this is Jerry Music, 17820 Lee Avenue. I was wondering if the building inspector is there that maybe could comment on this.
No, he is not.
Okay. Well, why is he not, why would he not be there?
He doesn't have to be here.
Not
for
a
this meeting.
legislator.
He went
Okay.
over this with our
Well, I was
commissioner.
hoping he'd have some input. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. No other hands are raised. Mary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Commissioner Kraut,
Yes,
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Henderson.
Okay. We are at public comment. Anyone who wishes to speak in the audience about anything that's not on the agenda, please feel free to come up, Chris. Everything else.
What do you got, Chris?
First 8 months of the year.
Okay. Let me check the attendee list to see if anyone wishes to speak on anything we haven't had on the agenda this evening for 3 minutes. I see Carol's hand raised, but I don't know, Carol, did you not put your hand down or do you want to speak again? Oh, she took her hand down.
Captain, you want to share anything?
Okay. So I see no other hands raised for public comment. The next workshop meeting is on Wednesday, August 25th, 2021 at 2 p.m. And the next regular meeting is Wednesday, September 8th at 2021 at 4 p.m. And with that, this meeting is adjourned at 5:57.
Great. Thank you.